Recently, I went up to the East Coast for a few days trip, and I came across this great scene on the River Orwell, which is on the east coast of England. And I thought, I've got to capture this. It's a really interesting shape. Obviously, this fallen tree, but historically, if you can see on the bottom there looks like there's the old ribs of a sunken ship. It's been beached here many years ago, just rotted away. So you've just got the remains of the ribs standing there, and in the background a line of trees and the Orwell, which is tidal, of course, and we've got all the green coming here, the weeds, different greens. So I've got a challenge to try and get these colours, but also get some distance. And if I get it right, if I lay this across my scene and put things behind it, pushes things into the distance, so you have a sense of depth or aerial perspective, as it's also known. But I've got to, if you look carefully at that line of trees, they're a little bit blue. Can you see that? They're blued out. That's because of the nature of the perspective, of bluer in the distance, more intense colours in the foreground. So I've got this big mass of dark here with dark green, but some brighter yellowy, more spring-like colours there. So let's have a go at that. So I'm going to start with a nice wash. I think we've got to have a good, I think I'm going to go with a wet on wet technique. So I'm going to wet the sky here, give it a good soak, and then I'll drop in colour so it will granulate as well, depending on the colour of the paints I choose. But I want to just let it run down there. There's no clouds in the sky from my reference photograph, although you don't have to be a slave to your reference. It is just, as the name suggests, it's a reference, so take from it what you want. But I think I don't want to have clouds competing with this view, really. I don't want anything to distract from this. So I've got quite a shine there still. So let me mix something up. I'm going to use a variety of different paints today. I've got some Sennelier, but then Winsor & Newton, Daler-Rowney. I just refill my palettes as I need them. So we'll have a mixture, that's for sure. So this is quite a bright blue, but watercolour always dries a lot lighter. I've heard various figures. Some people say it can be as much as 50% lighter, but I'm sure it depends upon the paints you have and the quality of the paper. This is Langton's £140. So it's good quality paper. And the trees will be coming across this big old tree, and so we'll be projecting into the, so let's go with that. Just let's leave that a moment. Now I need to get this foreground, so I'm going to make a mixture, I think, of ochre and some raw sienna I think, for a wash, for a very light wash, and then I'll be coming back with stronger colours, and as I need it gets a bit to the foreground, and then I can put the deeper shadow colours as well. Let's get a nice puddle going. Yes, I think we can go with that as a starter. You can see I've sketched it out. It's a little bit shaded in some areas where I want to emphasize the shadow side of some of these big old timbers. So I'm varying my mix here a little bit with some stuff I've got still on my palette, but we can go with this, I think. So it's sometimes a good idea to get rid of all the white if it's taking a large part of your picture fairly early on, whether you're doing in oil or watercolour. It's difficult to judge tonal values if you have all that white there. Right, let's go with that. Now actually, when it's wet on wet, I think I'm going to put some sort of reddish colours in here, some reddy purpley colours, which I've got from some of the shingle and river detritus, which comes in along there. Comes here a little bit. Right. Get something a little bit darker there. So I've got a bit of raw or burnt umber, I think, there. Just mixing up. Got some big shadows as well, which I need to deal with. So while this is wet, I can just dip a few different colours there. To add interest. I've got the shadows coming in here, so I'm going to put a bit of ultramarine there, a bit of crimson alizarin, tone it down a little bit there. So we've got quite a darkish shadow coming in here. All these trees are projecting over. I could do that. Some different colour. It's tricky to determine how dark you want it. I've got soft edges with this, which is what I need most part for shadows. Not always the case. Sometimes you have the darker bits and sharper edges. I think I've got some Payne's grey on my other palette. And it's, oh, that's a bit dark. Do that. Some soft. Certainly is coming in here. Right. Okay, I think I'm going to leave this for the moment. Just final bit here. A little bit sharper in edge in some places there. I'm just trying to get the shapes in, really. Right, let's leave that for the moment. Now, at what point do I need to look at that shoreline again? I want to keep it fairly light. So I think what I'm going to do now is take a clean damp brush, and just lift a little bit there. If I can, yes. Dab off on a sponge. I've just got a little sponge here. Clean water. You can lift with the damp because that's catching the light there. I want to run that off there. We'll leave it like that. Okay. I've got to vary some greens as well. There's some different greens that come along the shoreline from the grasses, sea grasses. They vary. So I've got some hooker's green here and some sap green. So I've got to get these tones right. Let that dry a little bit, I think. Let's just deal with this bit of the grasses. There's quite a sweep of it there. See, my paper is still quite moist here, which suits me at the moment. I want it to be soft and merge in. I've got a darker greens in some of these. Let's get some hookers there with a little bit of lemon yellow to lighten it up a little bit. Let's get some of those lighter greens in, I think. That's darker, isn't it? We want to have a diffused band of colours. Greens. And there's quite a thing there, but let's get some real light springy bits. That's not good enough. Let's get something lighter, a bit more yellowy in there. That's it. That's better. Yes, it comes down on my log. I've painted over my dark log, but that would be easy to reinstate, being a darker colour. and some yellows under there, and also yellows in this. This part is catching more of the sun, so let's go with that. I've got some green coming down here as well, so let's put some hookers and a bit of sap, I think I need. Some of these places, yes. Needs more variety here. Using some quite thick paint there. Quite creamy and thick. So I want to suggest the grasses. And I've got a line of grass, a weed coming down like that. And let's soften up a little bit on that edge. And I've got rather, so if I use a little dry brush here, by that I mean not very much water or on the brush, so I can use the texture of the paper. I do it lightly just to pick out some of the grass and the shingle. So I think I will leave that for the moment. And then we could probably put some of the shapes of these initial lay in anyway, I think. And this tree here, yes. Let's go with a big brush. Let's be bold and brave. I'm using this one now. This, got some sap green there, viridian there, and some hookers here. So I'm going to make up a varied mixture. Just scrub in this line of the tree. It helps frame our picture as well. It's projecting in here. Can you see this? We've got this big log coming across. But we've also got vegetation here. We'll change the colours. Put some darker greens and blues. Help bring it out. Right. And then I've got these trees and this shoreline. It's coming along here. Let's get some different. I don't want it too bright on this shoreline there in the distance. Just a little hint. So I think I want to get a little bit of blue in that. You know, your instinct is, no, they're not blue, are they? You say to yourself, but you have to exaggerate somewhat sometimes to give you that distance. It's a little bluer. I think I could have a little bit less paint. Let's just smudge in some of those. Slightly higher on that line. More trees. Right. Let's get some trees into here. Some colour to hint at it. And they're quite dark actually, so I need to deal with that. Some very lurid colour here, which I don't want. So it's a sort of always push and pull with your paintings and your colours, just where you can. This brush, you see now it's broken the edge. That's kind of handy to stipple in some different colours. Right, let's go with that for the moment. That's better. I've just neutralised my very overly bright green. I've got a bit of brown in it, a bit of raw sienna or umber, and that needs to be brighter or darker there. In fact, this was very dark, this element, because it's set against the sky, so we have more of a silhouetted effect. So I need to do that. Make sure I've got something there. Get the odd bit of sky hole you can see coming through. Right. I think that I should leave that for the moment so we can perhaps deal with some of these logs, which I suppose are the star of the show really. So let's get a different brush. I think I'm going to use one of my Chinese brushes, which give you a nice point like this. Can you see this? But it's free. You can be fairly free with your style to create a freer brushstroke really. So let's get something fairly dark. I think I better go to my mixture in my other palette here. Get some umber, I think. Some burnt umber. Yes, let's make some fairly dark browns. It's tempting in a photograph. You tend to not to have ability to see the colours. They're just dark often. You think I'm just staying. You do them dark without introducing some colour. But that's where the human eye is somewhat better at it than the photograph, than the camera. So you've got to be aware of that. Try and have some colours and tones in your dark forms. And I want to put some lights across them as well at some point, because we've got the the light on the top part of this old limb, but they're lights and darks, reflected light too of the other shapes. I don't know how long these trees have been lying here. A long time, I suspect. As I say, we'll put different forms in there shortly. Which I can use this tip again to suggest certain of these boughs that are showing here. And let's get this big one in here. Yes, I've lost it in my painting now, but it comes along here. Up, interesting shape there. Down here. It's curved like this. Big knobbly bits hanging out here. Sticking in. Huge great logs they were. So I've tried to draw them as I saw them, rather than, you have to be careful with trees, natural form. You tend to paint them as you imagine, you think you know them. And it can be very generic if you're not careful. But of course each tree has a character of its own. They're all very, very individual. Okay, they may take some common form, so, you know, an oak tree, but within that broad sweep of species, you get individuality. So you've got to try and account for that in your painting if you want to be fairly lifelike anyway. This one coming here. Going to see it here. But I think I'm going to introduce a lot of different colours in here shortly. But this is just a mixture of umber and raw sienna and a bit of Payne's grey there as well. And I've got shadows under them as well. I've got to try and capture that at the right time, of course. Yes, I think we've got more. This needs to come here. Come down here behind this one. Things coming off, and I've got a big shadow coming in here. So let's go with that now, where we've got in the right area. Got some purpley, crimson alizarin. Put a touch of blue with it. Let's go for my ultramarine. A bit of crimson there. That's what might do it. Yes, I've got a again there, and under here there's all the shadowed area of these limbs. And under this big bough, fallen bough, that was all shadowed. Coming here. Right, can you see that? I think now I can, now we're a little drier, I can project these shadows in a little bit more. And that shadow came all along here. And I've got to get in this. I mentioned I've got some old ribs of an old fallen or an abandoned boat here, a fairly big boat I would imagine. But so I'm just going to make up some suggestion of these remains of these old ribs. They were definitely here in a line, rotted away over the years. Disappearing here, really quite a big one, and a bit of one there, a big one made a post from the mast, who knows. So we try and suggest that. And when I've got some of these darker colours in my mixture, I can perhaps I can introduce some now into this big log here. This is the magic of watercolour. You're never quite sure how it will perform. It has a will of its own, as they say. But if it does take a action which you perhaps didn't want initially, shouldn't allow yourself to be fazed by that. Sometimes these happy accidents can be very nice. So this was really heavily logged here. I'll be able to put some white along the top of these things at some point. Darken that shadow up as it comes under there. And I've got to get this one much darker as well. But I can leave a little bit of the lighter elements. So that's our shadow form as well there. Let's leave that. Right, sort of knobbly bits on the edges of the limbs as well. The old branches. I think you need a bit more shadow there. Right. It could be a bit thicker there. Right. Let's put a bit of texture in some of these foreground area. If I've got enough, not dark enough, I think. Let's get some raw sienna. Right. Now I need to cut in a bit more with that grass there. So clean off my brush a little, and I need to sweep that shoreline, this grass around here. So our eye is taken around a bit there. Could be a bit stronger actually. Let's give it a little bit more strength. Weed. Okay. So I think I could step up some of the shoreline, tree line over there. Try and suggest some trees. All right, I could put maybe I could get a sailboat somewhere as well out on here, but let's put a little bit of variety in the trees there. A little bit more colour. Perhaps a bit of blue might be called for there. Push it back a bit. There's a lot of sailing here actually in the on the River Orwell. It's considered to be one of the best anchorages for yachts people. They love it. There's several sailing clubs. Need to put some darks in here. I need the darks to offset the light, so that's why I need to break it up a little bit. Down here. Right. Now I need to step back actually and look at my painting. Now I need to, this bit of the water is just a bit too boring, isn't it? So I need to put something in there to make it read a little bit better. I think, should I go with a little bit of cerulean blue perhaps? Don't want it too bright, but I think I need to hint at something here. Okay. Let's try my brush a little bit. some horizontals there, so it reads flat. Right, now I've got this foreground, it's all a little bit too boring. I need to emphasize my shadows here of this tree here that's hanging over. So I think I'm going to make more of a shadowy colour, bit of ultramarine, bit of crimson alizarin too, and perhaps a touch of Payne's grey, make it a little darker. Yes, I think I need that. I think we should. I wonder if I should do some splattering as well. I need to get some suitable colour. Let's see, what can we do that with? Bit of raw sienna, perhaps. Yes, I think will give us a bit of texture. Let's change the colour a little bit. Okay, we could do that. Now let me see, should I could, I've got to put a little hint of the yacht, haven't I, at some point. But while I've got these logs a little bit damp, let's introduce some different colours to kind of hint at the sunlight. It certainly was some browns and oranges and much lighter tones. So I think I'll mix some yellow ochre with some of these colours. Let's see if I can introduce it. Although, perhaps I'm... Ah, yes, I could do it there. Let's get something... I've got a little bit of Chinese white somewhere, haven't I? Yes, here we are. Let's lighten this. We've got certain areas where we can introduce some lighter tones, catching a bit of the sun there. It's got a little bit of browns, and certainly up there on that top part some nice, and this was getting a little bit of different light as well under there. I remember seeing that. Let's get some lights and different colours in here too. Sure, yes. We could put some yellows along here, getting a bit of sunlight. Some of that green's back. There we are. Try to take our eye round a bit. Now, have I got... Could I put in a little yacht or so? Actually, I want a little bit of change of tone in the sea there. While it's wet, vary it a little bit. Yes, I think I need a very tiny little brush, a little rigger here. I could hint at a little vessel in the distance perhaps. So let's see what I can get. Some little form. Maybe I should do this with some gouache actually. Let's see. Actually, let's put some white. No, I think gouache is what I need. It needs to be quite thick. So some artists don't think you should be using gouache with watercolor, but I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. Whatever gives you a decent picture is what you want. A few highlights here. It's catching here. On the top of that limb there, look. Yes, I can do that. But let me get back to see if I can put a little yacht. It's got to be, I think I'll put something here because I've got a little bit of a dark background there. And we could put another there. I'm going to put a mast in a little bit later. But let's get some more white on this top of this log here. There was some here as well. Right. But I noticed there was quite a bit on coming down there actually. This was really catching some light. This one's coming in front of this. Right, so yes, I think I have to get some dark bit as well actually to suggest a hull or two. Oh goodness me, that was a mistake. It's far too wet. A bit of sea there, but we can lift it there just a little. Oh, that's not so bad. See a little accident there, we can blend that out. Clean brush. Little hint, but I think we'll let that lie for a minute. Yes, there are bits of light flecks in the soil here on the shore, little bits of stones that are being caught the light. So I can just scratch them in. Yes, that's better. They're catching some light here. And actually there are some elements of light that were caught here too in the foliage. Some lighter bits. I think I could darken up some of this here though. We need some more greens in some of these places, I think. Let's see what I can do with my rigger. That's better. I better get a bit of sap though into that. Need to emphasize that line a bit better, I think. Shoreline there. Right. Let me think now. I could introduce some grasses actually with this rigger. I could give it a little bit more texture here. If I get a right fairly stiff mixture, I can introduce some of the weeds and grasses that you get on the shore here. Banks of them as well, so let's make it a little stiffer mixture here. A little bit more water, I think. I want to set it off behind this log. Some different colours. Right, that'll do it. Quite a bank actually of, or a patch of it really. Grasses here. Coming all along here too, behind here. Another element here. So you can do lots of work to bring it to life. It depends how much work you want to do on it actually. Got to be careful not to overwork. painting, which is always a mistake, almost always a mistake. Yes, I think I need to bump up my shoreline. It's not distinct enough in places. I think I need to bring that round here so I can read it better. So I've got a little bit of yes, that's better. And can get a darker colour, and I can have another go. See if we can put it into the boat. It's still too wet actually. I think we have to leave that for the moment. Let's just add some more texture to these big old logs here. So I'm ringing the changes there, got lots of different colours going in, greens, a few reds to change the brown that you've got to something a bit different, like that. Yes, I think so. Maybe have a bit more green here. Yes, I think so. Help show this bank of grasses. Took a walk all along this shoreline here. It was really fun. It's a beautiful place if you've got a chance to visit. Just gonna put a little bit more darker tones in front of those backdrop of those other trees. So the ones in the distance are more bluer, lighter. But if I drop a few of darker tones in, you'll see them better, I think. Yes, I need a little bit darker there. Well, I think I've probably done all I should do at the moment, but I can work on it later. Subsequently, leave it a day or so, and then you come back and you think, yes, I can improve that. So that's worth doing. So this is a fairly quick painting, really, just from my YouTube. But if you enjoyed it, if you like it, what I do here, please give me a like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. It's I'll just be notified, or you'll be notified when I put up another one, which is very encouraging. And also comments, if you've got any comments, if you know this part of Suffolk, please comment. Got a great pub out here called the Butt and Oyster Pin Mill. If you're ever out that way, you've got to go and have a meal there. It's really lovely. It's a sort of, there's boat yard there as well. So you see lots of sailors and people doing boat restoration, and it's a really lovely atmosphere. So anyway, I think I'll leave it at that, and hope you've enjoyed it. So thanks for watching. There it is with the tape off. So we've got a nice clean edge. I always forget to do that, but it does make a nice, frames it up a little bit better for you. So there we have it, the River Orwell.